What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is iBearDog here, and welcome to CSGO for Dummies. This is me defining skill and just what are some of the things I think factor in skill and how to get better at them. And obviously, I'm going to continue this series on different aspects of these skills. So when it comes to skill, I believe that there are three main categories. The first one is aim. Obviously, that's pretty basic. Everybody knows aim as far as when you get a headshot, you get recoil patterns, etc. Next part is game knowledge / map knowledge. Game knowledge and map knowledge, that is really dependent on smokes, nades, strats, things like that. Then you have the third and final, which I believe is the hardest to obtain and takes time in the game, which is game sense. So when to rotate, when not to rotate, when to push, when to throw a nade. It's a lot goes into that, and a lot of it's a mind game. It's not always 100%. A lot of times, even the best players get caught off guard, and that's why when you see a higher level player playing with lower levels, he's get caught off a lot of times. At least I do. If I ever smurf, and don't hate on me for smurfing, I do it occasionally. I think everybody does a little bit. But when you smurf and you play with low level players and you get caught off by their strategies because it doesn't make sense to what a good player would do or what the right decision would do, so it can catch you off a little bit. And also knowing the timing as far as where they run. So getting on to the first aspect, I feel, of aim, and I do have a little cheat sheet here of how to get better in a combination of aim and your movement with it. Playing maps, aim maps, recoil maps, the dot map, bots, playing TDMs, playing 1v1 servers, all that stuff factors into it and will make you better at this game overall. If you're still very uncomfortable and you're still new to the game and you're coming from console or you're still not really used to PC games, but you still want to get more time in, but you don't always want to go play a competitive or TDM, there's things like B-hops and surfing map. They won't directly impact your aim, but they will make you more comfortable with a controller, and they're fun and they're cool little activities to do. They're not necessarily required, but I find a lot of high-level players are good at surfing and B-hopping. Coincidence? I think not. Let's see what else for aim. That is about it for aim. Just being comfortable and trusting your aim, I think that's a very important spot. And knowing that you're comfortable and confident in your skill level. You have to know that you can run out and get a headshot, because if you run out into a site and you're not very confident, you're double peeking yourself, or you're trying to fall back and move when you're shooting. That's another big thing. There's two things that I see most often out of new players and lower level players is they move when they shoot, and they also have bad crosshair placement. Look at Freakazoid right here. His crosshair placement should be about head level to chest level of where they are at, whatever corner he's going around. That's just how pros operate, and that's how good players operate, and it's something common sense among them. If you take a look at anybody above LE all the way up to pro level, they all have a combination of these three skills. They have them set. Some may be better at game sense and game knowledge, which would be make your caller, such as Gabi and then John Gears in this case for these pro teams. So you have your people that have that great strat and knowledge. You have people like Scream, who has great aim or headshot. So you have a combination of those. Okay, so moving on to the game knowledge, which is knowing your smokes, nades, knowing strats. At the very basic level, the very basic level, you should know the default spread to every map, whether you're a counter-terrorist or terrorist. So when you guys are just spreading out, like on Dust is a very simple example. There's normally two that goes tons, one that holds long A, one that holds mid, and then one that could float around between long A and mid. Generally, that's what is considered a default. Okay, it doesn't mean that is what they do 100% of the time, but if you really don't know what you're going to be planning on, that's just a default that you can run. Same thing with CT. That's T side. CT side, you have a guy maybe two long, and one mid and two B, or one B, one mid, one cat, and two long. Depending on how the other team's playing, you got to compensate for that. So knowing how to compensate and knowing how to counter strat somebody is important. Okay, and I'm sure there are plenty of videos out there on how to counter strat different tactics and how to counter certain pushes and how to do certain pushes that you can find. Same thing with nades. I know there are nade maps just like there are aim maps, but you would have to know just at least some basic knowledge of some smoke grenades on how to smoke things off, when to flash, how to use that underhand flash, and using your nades. I know a lot of lower level people that just don't use their nades enough that could help them get out of a situation. If you're in a quick situation and you see an enemy team's pushing a lot of them against you, don't throw a smoke grenade, throw a flash grenade. That is a quicker and guaranteed to slow them down for a couple seconds. the very least. Okay. So the third and final, which is game sense, and how to, I guess, make sure you're better at that. And it's the hardest, really. There's only really two ways that I know of, or maybe three technically, but the kind of first two are the same. One is playing the game, getting that game knowledge, getting a couple hundred hours into the game, or playing with higher level players on ESCA, Face It, playing with higher level players just in general, okay? And that'll help your game tremendously. So whether or not you have somebody that can smurf with you, or you have a friend that's willing to play with you that's at a higher level, I recommend it, because I found that for me in any first-person shooter, for me to forcibly get better, what I need to do is play with a higher level or higher tier player. That way my reactions get better, because I have to react to what's coming at me rather than continue to battle and grind at the same level and try to one-up somebody at my level. I try to one-up somebody at a higher level that has a faster reaction time. I found improved my game tremendously. And the last thing I think really that you can do as far as just besides playing is watching pro matches like this, and watching point of view. So if you have a player you really want to emulate, you could get Freakazoid for entry fragging, or Freiberg for entry fragging. You have Alu for opping, you have Skadoodle for opping, Olaf Meister that kind of has that lurk combination, just overall good player. Things like that. Who do you want to emulate? How do you want to play as? What do you think would be a good strat for you to, what fits your play style? Okay, and knowing it's okay to say, hey, maybe my aim's not the greatest, but I have really good strats. It's okay to have that, but at least you know what you need to work on. That's one thing you have to admit to yourself. You need to know what you need to work on, what's weak, what could be better, just different aspects of the game. If you guys have any questions on how to improve some of these in the comments, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any ideas for videos that you'd like me to cover on how to help you improve on certain areas, or you have certain map questions and how I would do something, please leave in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe. But peace out for now. See you next time.